How could things get any worse for Russia? Just when Putin's army is already drowning in drone strikes, burning through armor, and battering itself against one grinding frontline after another, Ukraine has now done something far more dangerous than winning one battle. It has started building the future, and this time that future is moving into NATO territory. On March 12th in Bucharest, Volodymyr Zelensky and Romania's president Nicolae Dan signed a statement of intent to produce Ukrainian defense systems, including drones, on Romanian soil. Not just for Ukraine, not just for Romania, but as part of a wider European security machine. That is the big thing. Ukraine's most battle-tested military technology is no longer trapped behind missile strikes, power outages, and wartime factory bottlenecks. It is being plugged directly into the industrial depth of the European Union and the protected geography of a NATO state. In plain English, the drone war that has been chewing up Russian columns and blunting Russian assaults is about to get a safer production base, deeper financing, and wider strategic reach. This is not just a deal, this is an escape from vulnerability. And for Moscow, that is a very bad sign. Because look at the map. Romania shares a 650-kilometer border with Ukraine. It sits on the Danube, near the very zone where Russian attacks on Ukrainian ports have repeatedly spilled danger across the frontier. Reuters reported last year that Russian drone fragments had fallen on Romanian territory more than 20 times. And Romania has repeatedly had to scramble air defences and fighters as the war's chaos brushed NATO airspace. So when Bucharest agrees to host Ukrainian drone production, this is not charity. It is self-defense with a factory roof. Romania is not watching the fire from a distance anymore. It is installing its own hose line. And now enter the game changer, the money. The EU's SAFE instrument can provide up to 150 billion euros in loans for common defense procurement. That means this is not some heroic one-off workshop hidden in a warehouse with a few soldering irons and a prayer. It can be tied into a continent-scale financing mechanism designed to push urgent military production. The March 12th statement explicitly linked the Romania-Ukraine effort to SAFE. In other words, Ukrainian wartime innovation may now be paired with EU capital, Romanian territory, and NATO demand. Software from Kiev, assembly lines in Romania, loans from Brussels. That is how ad hoc survival turns into industrial power. And Zelensky was very specific about what Ukraine brings to this partnership. He said Ukraine's strength lies in integrating drone software into a country's wider defense system. That matters because modern drone warfare is not just about a cheap airframe and an explosive charge. It is about sensors, targeting logic, electronic warfare resistance, command links, and the ugly art of making all of that work under pressure. Reuters reported the same day that Ukraine is opening battlefield data to allies so they can train drone AI models, with Defense Minister Mikhailo Fedorov saying Ukraine has built a uniquely rich dataset from millions of annotated images gathered across tens of thousands of combat flights. This war has become a brutal laboratory, and Ukraine is one of the few countries on Earth graduating from it in real time. That is why this deal is bigger than drones alone. It is about who owns the learning curve. Russia still has mass, it still has missiles, it still has men. But Ukraine has been learning faster, adapting faster, and now exporting that adaptation outward. Reuters reported on March 7th that Ukrainian manufacturers of interceptor drones say they can export in large volumes, and that one company, Skyfall, says its P1-SUN interceptor has downed more than 1,500 Shaheds and 1,000 other drones in just 4 months. The same report said the company could manufacture up to 50,000 interceptor drones per month. So when people hear that Ukraine has a target of 1,000 interceptors a day, this is not fantasy B-roll. It fits a real production push tied to real wartime demand, and now potentially a safer production ecosystem outside Russia's strike envelope. This is where the story gets darker for the Kremlin. Ukrainian drone factories inside Ukraine can be hit. Their grids can be hit. Their logistics can be hit. Their workers can be terrorized. Put those lines in Romania, and Russia runs into a hard wall. Striking them would mean striking NATO territory. That changes everything. Suddenly, the Russian military is staring at the possibility that the systems killing its troops and blinding its reconnaissance will be built just across the border, under Alliance air cover, inside a member of both NATO and the EU. Same Ukrainian brains, much harder target set, much deeper political consequences. No easy fix. And Bucharest is not getting just symbolism out of this. Romania gets a direct defense industrial upgrade. It gets access to combat-proven Ukrainian designs. It gets a local production base for drones and counter-drone systems that are directly relevant to the Danube corridor and NATO's eastern flank. Reuters reported months ago that Romanian officials wanted these drones for domestic defense and for potential deployment by EU and NATO allies. So this is not only a bilateral project, it is a possible export hub. A war-tested drone line inside Romania can feed Romanian needs first, Ukrainian needs second, and allied demand after that. One factory can become a corridor. One corridor can become a shield. And that is before we get to energy, because the March 12th meeting was not only about drones. Zelensky and Dan also discussed Ukraine importing US liquefied natural gas through pipelines across Romania and cooperating on Black Sea energy projects. They signed documents on energy cooperation and minority rights. And Dan said Romania would support legal ways to unblock EU aid to Ukraine that Hungary has vetoed. So what do we actually have here? Not just a drone deal, a political package, a defense package, an energy package, a signal that Romania is locking itself more tightly into Ukraine's long war and is willing to help pry open some of the political blockages that have slowed broader European support. That is the logistics. Now here is the politics. Romania is helping Ukraine survive both the missile war and the paperwork war. And all of this is landing while Russia keeps bleeding on the battlefield. On March 11th, Ukrinform, citing Ukraine's general staff, reported that Russian losses since the start of the full-scale invasion had reached about 1,275,980 personnel and 11,763 tanks, with another 990 personnel and 5 tanks lost over the previous day. That same report also listed more than 38,000 Russian artillery systems lost and more than 170,000 operational tactical UAVs destroyed. Whether every figure is exact is not really the point here. The point is the trend. The machine is still eating metal and men at industrial scale. While Ukraine is looking for safer places to manufacture, Russia is still searching depots, workshops, and graveyards for enough mass to keep the assaults going. On the air war side, the picture is just as telling. Ukrinform reported that as of the morning of March 10th, Ukrainian air defenses had shot down or suppressed 122 of 137 Russian UAVs, though 12 attack drones still hit 10 locations. Then, on March 12th, Ukraine's Air Force said 77 of 94 drones had been shot down or jammed, but 16 still hit 11 locations. That tells you two things at once. First, Russia is still pushing saturation. Second, Ukraine still urgently needs more layers, more interceptors, more software, more crews, and more production. And that is exactly why this Romania deal matters. Every drone launched from Russia is an argument for more factories in NATO territory. Every intercepted Shahed is a sales pitch for Ukrainian know-how. Meanwhile, the ground war is not cooling off. Ukrinform reported 137 combat clashes across the front on March 10th, and then 128 more clashes on March 11th, with the fiercest fighting concentrated around sectors like Pokrovsk, Huliaipole, and Kostiantynivka. This is not a frozen war. This is a grinding war of pressure, attrition, and adaptation. Russia is still throwing force into the line. Ukraine is still having to absorb, blunt, and punish that force. So the significance of drone production in Romania is not abstract. It connects directly to men in trenches, vehicles on approach roads, artillery observers in tree lines, and commanders trying to stop the next push before it reaches the next village. On the map, this looks like industry. For the soldiers on the ground, it looks like time, warning, interception, and survival. And while all of that was unfolding, Kharkiv was hit again. Ukrinform reported on March 11th that a Russian strike on a factory in Kharkiv killed 2 people and wounded 7, several of them seriously. That is the other half of the drone factory story. Ukrainian innovation has been extraordinary, but it has also been developed under constant bombardment. Engineers are designing systems while cities lose power, factories burn, and civilians die. Moving part of that production chain into Romania does not mean Ukraine stops suffering. It means some of the most important production nodes become harder to terrorize. The war's brain stays in Ukraine, but some of the war's workshop gets moved out of immediate reach. This is the moment Russia should be worried about most. Not one missile strike, not one viral drone clip, not one tank column exploding on a muddy road. The moment to fear is when Ukraine stops improvising and starts institutionalizing. When wartime lessons become alliance doctrine. When garage innovation becomes licensed serial production. When the systems that were born in desperation are funded like a program, protected like infrastructure, and distributed like a network. That is when a temporary battlefield edge becomes a durable strategic advantage. And that is what Bucharest may have just unlocked. There is also a wider geopolitical irony here. As the Middle East crisis has driven the US and its partners to seek help against Iranian-style drones, Ukraine has suddenly become not only a recipient of aid, but a supplier of solutions. Reuters reported that Ukraine has sent anti-drone specialists to 4 Middle Eastern countries, and that US allies have turned to Ukrainian interceptor drone makers as Iran's Shahed-style threat expanded. So while Washington is turning up the pressure on Tehran, Kyiv is turning battlefield survival into exportable strategic value. Putin wanted Ukraine to be broken, dependent, exhausted. Instead, Ukraine is pitching itself as a security provider. That is not how this war was supposed to go from Moscow's point of view. And yes, there is a broader message to NATO here too. For years, the alliance's eastern members warned that geography would matter again. Ports, pipelines, rail corridors, air defense belts, rear area factories, the boring stuff, the unglamorous stuff, the stuff that decides whether armies can keep fighting after the first patriotic speech is over. Romania's partnership with Ukraine fits that logic perfectly. It is eastern flank deterrence built not only with brigades and bases, but with software teams, production halls, and supply chains. A drone wall is not just a slogan when the people who survived Russia's swarm war start building its components inside alliance territory. And there is one more thing Moscow has to hate. Ukraine is no longer only asking for weapons. It is shaping what Europe will build next. That flips the relationship. The country that many expected to collapse in weeks is now influencing alliance procurement, AI training, counter-drone doctrine, and industrial priorities. It is becoming harder to treat Ukraine as just a battlefield. It is becoming a workshop, a test range, a software house, and a strategic partner. Russia did not just create an enemy. It accidentally helped create a military innovator that Europe now wants to integrate. That may be one of the Kremlin's most expensive mistakes of the entire war. So what happens next? Watch for contracts. Watch for locations. Watch for whether the Romania project starts with interceptor drones, counter-drone systems, or a wider family of Ukrainian designs. Watch whether other states follow. The Netherlands is already discussing joint arms production with Kyiv, and Reuters has reported Ukraine's push to expand joint manufacturing with European partners. If this spreads, Romania may not be the exception. It may be the template. And if that happens, Russia will face a deeply unpleasant reality. Every month this war continues, Ukraine's military ecosystem may become less exposed, more networked, and more European. So no, this is not just another memorandum signed in front of cameras. It is a warning shot made of paperwork, industrial planning, and strategic geography. Ukraine and Romania have just opened the door to something Putin cannot easily bomb, cannot easily intimidate, and cannot easily stop without risking an even bigger confrontation. While Russian drones still strike homes, while Russian troops still die by the hundreds, and while the front still grinds through places like Pokrovsk and Kharkiv, Ukraine is building the next phase of the war in safer ground, not behind the lines, beyond them. This is where Russia's nightmare begins, not with one explosion, but with a production line, not with one speech, but with a network, not with one drone, but with thousands. If Putin thought he was fighting Ukraine alone, Bucharest just reminded him that he is not. And if you want to understand where this war may be heading next, keep your eyes on the factories, the borders, and the alliances. Because the next big Ukrainian victory may not begin in a trench, it may begin on a Romanian assembly floor. Subscribe if you want the next move before the headlines catch up.